إياك والعجب بفضل رأيك، واحذر جواب القول من خطابك. كم من جواب أعقب الندامة، فاغتنم الصمت مع السلامة. العلم بحر منتهاه يبعد، ليس له حد إليه يقصد، وليس كل العلم قد حويته، أجل ولا العشر ولو أحصيته.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله ما عظمه معظم، وسار إليه راغب متعلم، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. أما بعد, today we'll talk about the sixth ma'qid, al-ma'qid al-sadis, and this ma'qid is about learning the knowledge and choosing what is most important to start with. So we've already done five ma'qid. The first one was cleaning the heart. Also, the second one was purity of intention. After that, it was gathering the zeal, motivation, and also fourth one was motivation to be based on the seeking the knowledge of Quran and Sunnah, the most beneficial knowledge. And then the fifth one was following the correct path in seeking knowledge. And that had two pillars: choosing a book that's most reliable and choosing a sheikh who is very good at with the knowledge, and also advising choosing the correct methodology. So now today is giving attention to the different subjects in your search and giving precedence to the most important respectfully. So قال ابن الجوزي في صيد خاطره: جمع العلوم ممدوح، من كل فن خذ ولا تجهل به، فالحر مطلع على الأسرار. Ibn al-Jawzi in his Sayyid al-Khatir, said Ibn al-Jawzi, he has a very good book called Sayyid al-Khatir. Also, Ibn al-Jawzi is different from Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah. They are not the same person. Ibn al-Jawzi, I think he's much older. He's been there before that. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah is a student of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. Jam al-Ulum, Ibn al-Jawzi also has a tafsir called Zad al-Masir. And his tafsir actually is so famous for, it could be famous for many things, but one thing I know about it is like he will put all the opinions for each verse. If there's maybe 5 opinions on that meaning, he will gather everything, even though he's not going to say which one is strongest. That his cons. But the pros, he has all the opinions. So he says, Jam al-ulumi mamduh. Learning everything is actually recommended. So he said, min kulli fannin khudh wa la tajhal bih, فالحر مطلع على الأسرار. He said, in everything, in every field, take it and don't be ignorant. He said, a free person is always seeking to get all the secrets. So he's very curious. And ويقول شيخ شيوخنا محمد بن مانع في إرشاد الطلاب: ولا ينبغي للفاضل أن يترك علما من العلوم النافعة التي تعين على فهم الكتاب والسنة إذا كان يعلم من نفسه قوة على تعلمه، ولا يسوغ له أن يعيب العلم الذي يجهله ويزري بعالمه، فإن هذا نقص ورذيلة، فالعاقل ينبغي له أن يتكلم بعلم أو يسكت بحلم. And he said, my sheikh is actually saying, the sheikh of my sheikh, or of my sheikhs, the sheikh of his sheikh is called Muhammad ibn Mani'. And he said in another book called Irshad al-Tullab, he said it's not good for someone who is a good person of good character to abandon any knowledge in the knowledge that are useful, subjects that are useful and helps in understanding Quran and Sunnah. So anything that helps understanding the Quran and Sunnah, if you are a person who is hardworking, then should not leave it, especially if you have ability. إذا كان يعلم من نفسه قوة على تعلمه. If you know that you have the ability to learn it. ولا يسوغ له أن يعيب العلم الذي يجهله and it is not right to speak bad, to speak ill of a subject that he doesn't know. So if you don't know Arabic grammar, you shouldn't say, grammar is not good. Why are you studying it? I wish there was no grammar. Or يزري بعالمه, also to speak bad of the people who know that knowledge. And should not belittle the one who's knowledgeable of that subject. And فإن هذا نقص ورذيلة. This is actually a deficiency. If a person is doing this, he has a deficiency. He or she has a deficiency, and also it is despicable. So an intelligent person, an intellectual person, فالعاقل ينبغي له أن يتكلم بعلم. An intellectual person should be speaking with knowledge or keep quiet by controlling himself, him or herself. So hilm usually is the opposite of anger. Opposite of anger is called hilm. Halim. So وإلا دخل تحت قول القائل. If he doesn't follow this advice, then he will be part of this poem. What is this poem saying? This a famous poem of advice as well. It said, أتاني أن سهلا ذم جهلا علوما ليس يعرفهن سهل علوما لو قراها ما قلاها ولكن الرضا بالجهل سهل. It's a very good poem, as you can see, and it applies a lot of figures of speech and devices. Very good in literature, this poem. I'll show you. Look, أتاني أن سهلا ذم جهلا. I got news that Sahal, someone, his name is called Sahal. Also, Sahal means easy. So I was told that Sahal has dhamma. So Sahal actually spoke ill of what? Jahlan. Due to his ignorance. Due to his ignorance, he spoke ill of what? علوما ليس يعرفهن سهل. He spoke ill of subjects that Sahal doesn't know. So Sahal spoke ill of some subject that he doesn't know. And also he spoke ignorantly, jahlan. So here, dhamma jahlan, it doesn't mean he spoke ill of ignorance. No. He spoke ill of knowledge. Jahlan, it means it is a manner. You know, in English grammar, parts of speech, is adverb of manner, I think. Yeah. So he spoke ignorantly about knowledge that he doesn't know. And they said, عُلُومًا لَوْ قَرَاهَا مَا قَلَاهَا. It is subject that if he read it, he wouldn't hate it. Qala is to hate. You can see in the Quran, مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَا, in Surah Al-Duha. Your Lord hasn't abandoned you and hasn't hated you. So qala is to hate. وَلَكِنَّ الرِّضَى بِالْجَهْلِ سَهْلُ. But being satisfied with ignorance is easy. Sahlun means easy. Here, Sahlan is the name of the person. So Sahlan being repeated here, but with different meaning, that shows very good in the Arabic language. انتهى كلامه, he finished here. وإنما تنفع رعاية فنون العلم باعتماد أصلين. And is beneficial in learning, seeking the knowledge. I mean, learning as much as you can in every subject, but you have to follow two foundations here, two principles. أحدهما تقديم الأهم فالمهم مما يفتقر إليه المتعلم في القيام بوظائف العبودية. So even if you're studying everything, but then you have to have these two foundations. Without these two foundations, it's not going to be good. So we need two foundations here in making sure that we are seeking a lot of knowledge, but we have to follow the foundations. Otherwise, it's going to be not useful. So what are the two foundations? He said, أحدهما تقديم الأهم فالمهم مما يفتقر إليه المتعلم في القيام بوظائف العبودية لله. To start with the most important, and then with important. So most important come first, and then what is important. Okay, how do you know what is important? how do we arrange the order of importance in different subjects and topics؟ مما يفتخر إليه المتعلم في القيام بوظائف العبودية لله. The knowledge that helps you to do our duties towards Allah, towards our ibadah. That comes first. So the most important one is what is wajib, what is compulsory upon us. So if we don't know what is compulsory upon us, we have to look which subject we need to learn. So most important is to learn about salah, ibadah, salah, zakah, fasting, and hajj. Also aqidah. We need to learn our aqidah. If we learn these 5 things, Arkanul Islam, yes. We need to learn these 5 things and also Arkanul Iman. Once we're good at that, all the subjects we're very good, then we can go to other things. Of course, we also need about muamalat in fiqh because we deal with finance. So we always buy and sell and we rent. So knowing those things are important. So it's mainly most important is what you do every day. When we wake up until we sleep, what we do in between, we need to learn about those actions, what is wajib, what is halal, what is haram. والآخر أن يكون قصده في أول طلبه تحصيل مختصر من كل فن. The second foundation is the intention to be at the beginning to learn a beginner book in every subject. A beginner usually book is brief, is small as well, and it's easy to memorize. حتى إذا استكمل أنواع العلوم النافعة, until if he finishes learning all the knowledge that is beneficial, نظر إلى ما وافق طبعه منها. Once the person is overall and knows important topics in every subject, then he's going to choose what is suitable for his personality and his ability and specialize in that. وآنس من نفسه قدرة. So the second foundation is to have an intention in seeking it to get a brief book for beginner in every subject. So every subject will become foundation level. Foundation in fiqh, foundation level in tafsir, foundation level in mustalah al-hadith, Arabic grammar, sarf, aqidah, every subject, foundation book. Actually, may Allah reward him. My sheikh, when he comes, when the school closed, actually after 1 semester, he comes to Medina, he sits there for 8 days, and he teaches 15 books, beginner books in every subject. In 8 days, so someone has to be free, 8 days full time, from morning until 11 p.m. after Fajr, until 11 p.m. for 8 days, and he teaches 15 books. But of course, there's a long break from 11 a.m. until Asr. That's a long break in the middle. He teaches in the Masjid Nabawi all those books. This is the first book he teaches. And this book he finishes from Fajr until 11 a.m. He finishes this book. So he says, learn a small book in every subject, and then later, if you have to look at what is befitting to your nature and what abilities you have, and then you become specialized in that. فَتَبَحَّرَ. It's like you are diving into the sea. You can become very good in that. Actually, my sheikh, he specialized in hadith. He's a scholar of hadith. ومن طيار شعر الشناقطة قول أحدهم وإن تريد تحصيل فن تممه وعن سواه قبل الانتهاء مه وفي ترادف العلوم المنع جاء إن توأمان استبقا لن يخرجا. He said there's shi'r of some Shanqiti tribe, but we don't know who said it. That's why he said طيار. He said, وَإِن تُرِيد تَحْصِيلَ فَنٍ تَمِّمَ. If you want to be good in one subject, then complete it. Don't start half a book and leave it. Complete it. وَعَنْ سِوَاهُ قَبْلَ الْإِنْتِهَاءِ مَهْ. And anything else before you finish that book, leave it. Mah, it means leave it. Stop. Also, as you can see here, they don't read the قَبْلَ الْإِنْتِهَاء. They use warsh qira'ah here, not hafs. قبل الانتهاء مه. Why? to befit the scale of this poem. You know, a poem has a measure. So otherwise, it's not going to sound nice if you read it with normal. So look, وإن تريد تحصيل فن تممه وعن سواه قبل الانتهاء مه. That's very befitting with a scale. Mizan, they call it. But if you say قبل الانتهاء, it's not going to befit. So because in Arabic poem Mizan, they have like 16 types of Mizan, and each Mizan, number of letters and number of sukuns in each line are actually counted, and they have to be equal. So if you read the first line and the second line, number of haraka and sukun, they're all equal. Let me see actually which Mizan type is this. وَإِن تُرِدْ تَحْصِيلَ فَنٍ تَمِّمَةٍ. I think they call it بحر الرجز. Yeah. وفي ترادف العلوم المنع جاء إن توأمان استبقا لن يخرجا. And he said وفي ترادف العلوم, if you learn two things at the same time in parallel, المنع جاء is prohibited. جاء, instead of saying جاء, it came. So a prohibition came. So he just says جاء to befit the rhyme, and it's allowed in poem. He says so learning two things at the same time is prohibited, not by Sharia, but by scholars who have experience. And they say, in توأمان استبقا لن يخرجا. توأمani, I think you probably know the meaning, but this means twins. It means twins. He said, if twins compete to leave, to get out of the womb, they will never leave. They will stay there forever if they compete. So one of them has to come first. وَمَنْ عَرَفَ مِنْ نَفْسِهِ قُدْرَةً عَلَى الْجَمْعِ جَمَعَ. Okay, there are exceptions to every rule. So whoever knows that he has ability to combine two subjects at the same time, then they can combine. وَكَانَتْ حَالُهُ إِسْتِثْنَاءً مِنَ الْعُمُومِ. And that situation becomes an exception to the general situation of everyone. المعقد السابع. Now we're going to learn the seventh معقد. المبادرة إلى تحصيله واغتنام سن الصبا والشباب. To hasten in seeking knowledge and making use of the time when you're young. The time of youth, the youth time when you're young, young age. والشباب while you're still شباب. قال أحمد ما شبهت الشباب إلا بشيء كان في كمي فسقط. I cannot compare being young except something that was in my shirt sleeve and it fell. So when you're young, you don't realize, but when you become old, you realize that you lost something very useful. And it suddenly goes away. So he compared it to something under his sleeve, and then it's got lost. And then والعلم في سن الشباب أسرع إلى النفس وأقوى تعلقا ولسوقا. And seeking knowledge at young age is faster. You can understand it faster it's faster to go into yourself, and it's stronger because young people have good memories. So ta'alluq is to be close to it, to be tied to it, and also lusuq is like lusuq. Usually the word is used for like glue as well. It's like a glue. And قال الحسن البصري العلم في الصغر كالنقش في الحجر. Since I was young, I used to hear this statement in Barawa. It says, Hassan al-Basri said, knowledge at young age is like a stamp in the stone. It's like stamping on a stone. And also some other people used to tell me that at old age is like stamping on dust. But we shouldn't discourage old people from learning. It's going to come here. فقوة بقاء العلم في الصغر كقوة بقاء النقش في الحجر. The way knowledge stays at young age, if you learn something, you will always remember it. It's the same as if you stamp on a stone. It will always remain there. فمن اغتنم شبابه نال إربه وحمد عند مشيبه سراه. So whoever benefit from the young age, they'll get what they want, and they will be grateful when they're old for what happened, for what he did yesterday. ألا اغتنم سن الشباب يا فتى عند المشي بيحمد القوم السرى. So benefit the time when you're young or youth or young boy. عند المشيب, when you're old, okay, when people get old, they praise what was before that. They praise it. They appreciate it. And ولا يتوهم مما سبق أن الكبير لا يتعلم بل هؤلاء أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم تعلموا كبارا. We shouldn't think that from what we said, the Sheikh said, may Allah do hifth, reward him. He says that we should not think from what I mentioned here that an old person does not learn. But the Prophet's companions, they learned when they were old. The Prophet, peace be upon him, his companion learned when they're old. ذكره البخاري. Bukhari mentioned in the book of knowledge. In Sahih Bukhari, there's a book of knowledge there. Bukhari mentioned about that the Sahaba learned at old age. Let's say Sayyidina Umar, he was not young when he became a Muslim, and many others. So it is actually in Sahih Bukhari. And they say, وَإِنَّمَا يَعْسُرُ التَّعَلُّمُ فِي الْكِبَارِ. But it's difficult to learn when you're old. كما بينه الماوردي. الماوردي is also a big scholar. In his book called أدب الدنيا والدين, the adab of dunya and akhirah. In his book, he said that it's difficult to learn when you're old because you're busy. لكثرة الشواغل وغلبة القواطع وتكاثر العلائق فمن قدر على دفعها عن نفسه أدرك العلم. He said the reason why it's difficult is because you're so busy. And also there's many things that distract you. Yeah, they rob your time. غلبة القواطع. قواطع is something that cuts. شواغل is something that keeps you busy. وتكاثر العلائق. And there's a lot of relation. So you think about many things. You have a lot of relation. That means, like, for example, you are attached to so many things, responsibilities. So if anyone can actually fight those things, then they can still become knowledgeable. So it is possible, but it's just harder. And actually, when I was learning this book, I remember he also mentioned three things. He said al-alaiq, and he mentioned three things actually. I don't remember now, but if I remember later, I'm going to add it in the lesson. I'm just going to add an audio. He narrowed down to three things: al-alaiq and something else. I'll add it later, inshallah, just to explain this better. And this is the end of today's lesson. And inshallah, رب زدنا علما وارزقنا فهما يا رب العالمين. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. I was recording, right? Yeah.